Michael Jordan is not only the best basketball player, but he's the most exciting basketball player to ever play.
Tatum fires away, pumps it in, 51 for Jason Tatum.
Hello, people, and welcome to another edition of the Big Three NBA podcast. I'm Sherrod Blakely, joined by Gary Washburn, and something's missing. Gary, wait, are we? Oh, wait a minute. NBA season is back in full swing. You know what that means? Load management. Load management. Kwani Lunis is not with us today. I guess she's a little bit under the weather. I think that's something like that.
Yeah, she's alone. She's under the weather. She'll be back next week.
Man, Kwani Lunis, Lord have mercy. Anyway,
yeah, you ain't right for that.
I know I'm not right. But I'm not feeling in a great mood today. And actually, I wanted to talk to you about it. Before we get started, I just want to let folks know that this is the Big Three NBA podcast, and we're part of the CLNS Media Network family. We couldn't do what we do if it wasn't for great partners like the folks at Prize Picks, which is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download the app today and get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Before we get kind of going today, I wanted to take a minute and just really offer our condolences to Lenny Wilkens' family and friends who are mourning his passing. He passed away on Sunday. He was 88 years old. And Gary, I know that you spent some time in Seattle before coming to Boston. You got a chance to know Lenny a little bit. Could you just talk to us a little bit about the man that you remembered and you knew?
Yeah, he was like basketball royalty. Like when you're around Coach Wilkens, you knew like you were in a different presence, a different kind of state, a guy who was just kind of, basketball, obviously a Hall of Famer, but just a guy who was just on a different level. And so you always, you didn't act no fool. You didn't say anything inappropriate. You didn't talk loud around Coach Wilkens. You were just like, you talked to him and he just always had something astute to say. But very intelligent man, great player. In addition to was at one time the all-time winningest coach, led the Sonics to the NBA championship in 1979. So he was royalty basically in Seattle. And I dealt with him in the last few years of Seattle, the Sonics, where he was briefly the team president. And for the last many years, he's just kind of been a man about town, going to events, shaking hands, kind of getting the respect that he deserved, because he was a guy who was legendary. There's no other kind of way to describe him, of all the top 50 players and all the accolades of a great player. If you look up his playing career, just a great player. And then went right into coaching, was a player coach, with the Portland Trail Blazers, in the early days of the Portland Trail Blazers. And then obviously, he played in Cleveland. He coached Cleveland. He coached the Sonics. He coached Atlanta. He had stints with the Knicks. He had a lot of stops. My only regret is I wish he would have gotten a chance to maybe run a team, I think he wanted to be a team president. He wanted to really run a franchise and be like that executive. And I don't think he got a chance to really do that. I think he wanted to do that in Seattle. Then the ownership change happened. And obviously Sam Presti came along, and obviously we know what Sam has accomplished. But just an amazing man. When you're around him, you just knew you were amongst like greatness. And so you had a pep in your step, and you buttoned up your shirt, and you made sure you were at your best when you talked to Mr. Wilkens, because it was being in that type of presence of just like, when you're around, and we've been around some of the great Celtic players, when we were around before he passed, like Bill Russell, obviously, or Havlicek, or even Tom Heinsohn. You're just around guys that you're like, okay, like this man has accomplished so much. This man is a legend, and I'm going to, be in his presence. I'm going to act, a certain way. I'm going to, hold my head high, and I'm going to, be polite and yes, sir, and talk to him and listen to what he has to say, because there's nothing you could say that would be more knowledgeable than Lenny Wilkens. So when you ask him questions or you talk to him, you listen to what he had to say, and he had always something very thoughtful to say. And he was I think what we're hearing about today, he wasn't a yeller. He wasn't a guy who was going to, he was a disciplinarian in terms of, but he was laid back and he let you handle yourself as a man. And I think that's why a lot of players loved him.
Yeah, and just the outpouring of emotions and just from former players, coaches. I was listening to a guy I know you're familiar with, Spencer Haywood. You and Mark Spears wrote the book on Spencer Haywood, and Spencer they dealt with each other back in when he was in Seattle, and Spencer was talking about how he was just he was such an influential person in his life. Not necessarily because of what he said, but just the way he carried himself. Yeah, he really was the example that you wanted to be in so many ways in respects. And certainly, at this time, we're certainly thinking a lot about him, a lot about his family, and just as important, his legacy. This is a guy that's not once, not twice, but he's been in the Hall of Fame 3 times. Part of that 92 Dream Team coaching staff, and as a player and as a coach. So the accomplishments, the accolades, and the respect that Lenny Wilkens earned throughout his career, it is undeniable and irrefutable in every sense of the word. So definitely wanted to just take a moment to just really think about Lenny Wilkens and talk about him. And that being said, we're going to get into the meat of the show. And I wanted to do something a little bit different this week. And we had talked about this. I read a lot of the comments that you folks make. And one thing we haven't really done enough of, and we're going to start doing more of that, is actually giving you a voice and listen to your comments and talk a little bit about your comments. And this week, wanted to start off right off the bat with a comment that was directed strictly at you, Gary. And for once, when I saw the first word was Gary, I'm thinking like, oh Lord, here we go. He about to get blasted. It wasn't so bad. And this question comes from Rocky9393. He says, Gary, do you think Peyton's struggles are due to his changed role? I think Simon should have started from game 1 because he has been doing that for the past 3 years. What are your thoughts about that, Gary?
Yeah, Rocky. I did think that because Anfernee Simons was a starter the last 4 years and Peyton is a guy who's coming off the bench, that it would be probably a good move to start Simons and bring Peyton off the bench. Now, the question is, how would Peyton feel about that?
Right.
He's earned his right to start. He's been around now 4 years, 4+ years, 4 years. And, I think he feels like, hey, I should step in and be a starter. And how much of an impact does coming off the bench have on his production? Right now, Peyton is struggling. I mean, he's had his ups and downs. He had 5 points in Sunday's win. He's going, and then he had 27 in Friday's loss, and he had a stretch of 8 consecutive game in double figures. So he's not playing poorly, but he's shooting poorly. 26% from 3. We all know he's better than that. So how much does the increased workload have impact on his numbers? That's what we're going to have to figure out. And obviously, this team is now 11 games in. A lot of things we're still learning about the Celtics, and they're still learning about themselves. But I do think it could have been a good idea to start Simons. Now, because of his defensive struggles, did Joe not want to start him and have teams go at him immediately? Does he want just to kind of him have that microwave Vinnie Johnson role, which he obviously had last night, where he had 25 points in 23 minutes? I think they're still, in this case, trying to figure out what to do with Simons. This is a guy who is proven scorer. We all know he can put the ball in the bucket, struggles on defense, but when he gets hot, he can be that difference maker. And he was last night, +9. Jalen last night was a -17. None of this. Josh Mino was not -17. The bench really won him that game. and especially Simons, 8 for 13 from the field, 5 for 8 from 3, hit all 4 of his free throws, stayed out of foul trouble. So, 3 assists, had a rebound in there. So, I mean, to me, I don't think you could go wrong by starting Simons, but I think as a respect factor, they're going to let Pritchard kind of see this through and to see if he can adapt. But, after a stretch of pretty decent games, Peyton did struggle on Sunday. So we'll see. I think he'll snap out of it. But I think we all want to see Simons play more. I think we all want to see him get to that 30-minute a game plateau. And, because he can put the ball in the hoop. And this is a team, as you know, Sherrod, that's going to have trouble scoring. And I'm looking at his minutes, and he's only hit the 30-minute mark so far. Anfernee Simons, 1, 2, 3 in three games. He had 30 against Washington, and he played a lot of garbage time against Washington to get his numbers up, I think, just to kind of get his confidence back. But he's got a 17-minute game. He's got to play more than that. He had 18 minutes in Friday's game. He's got to play more than that. I think we all want to see more Anfernee Simons.
Yeah, and I think Joe has to really embrace the fact that he is going to be, to some extent, a flawed player out there. He's not going to be locking kids up defensively and doing all the things that Joe I know wants him to do. But you got to play him. I mean, he's too good a scorer, and your team has too great a need for a scorer. And so I do think that his minutes will I think settle in that 25-ish to 30-minute range, I think, when all's said and done. But I mean, he was great in the Orlando game, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a second. I wanted to get to one more question before we moved on, or excuse me, one more comment, I should say, from the from our CLNS YouTube channel, and this is from NGC1986, who says the reality of this team is the reliability of the players after the top 4 is questionable at best. You simply just cannot count on those guys to consistently have decent games, and every night it's a crapshoot on whether or not they're going to be able to be productive. In order to win, this team needs to have consistent and predictable production from Brown, White, Pritchard, Hauser, and Simons. Right now, aside for Brown, we aren't really getting that. They need 3 of those guys at least to play well every night. Hopefully, hopefully White finds his footing and Pritchard finds his shot. We'll see. What are your thoughts about that, G?
Yeah, I think it's a very correct statement. I mean, they're going to need production from everybody, and I think that if you're the Celtics fan, the good news is they're 5-6, and they still really haven't found their footing. Right? They still trying to figure out rotations. They're still trying to figure it out, and they're 3.5 games back for the top spot. Nobody in the East is running away with it. Detroit is played very well now since losing the first couple of ball games, and now they're on a roll. But Philadelphia 6-4. A lot of the teams that were looking really good early have had some recent struggles. Orlando only has 4 wins, and they're a team that's been, let's be honest, a real disappointment so far in the first 10+% of the season. I mean, the Magic are worse than the Magic are 4-6. The Hawks 5-5. Everybody talked about Atlanta. Toronto 5-5. Milwaukee 6-4. Miami 6-4. We can go up and down. The Knicks 6-3, but 6 wins at home, 0-3 on the road. The Celtics have 3 road wins already. They have the second most road wins of any team in the East next to Detroit. A lot of other teams have 3, but the Celtics are showing themselves they have a plus differential with a losing record, plus 2.4. So this is a team that you can see the potential. It's just got to be more consistent. And I think the VTuber is right. Like, they've got it. This is a team that margin for error is very thin. So you can't have Peyton Pritchard and Derek White slumping at the same time. You can't have Sam Hauser and Derek White slumping at the same time. You got to have Simons come through. And they're going to need contributions from other guys. Last night, it was Jordan Walsh with a big 3. It was Luka Garza with 16 points. So if that happens and they get consistent production from other guys, it doesn't have to be every night. Jordan Walsh is not going to produce every night, but it's going to be Josh Minot. It's going to have to be Luka Garza. It's going to be Keita. It's going to have to be Hugo Gonzalez. It's going to have to be somebody who gives them a boost. And it doesn't necessarily have to be scoring. It could be a couple of key rebounds, a steal, good defense, slowing down the other, opposing player. They did a good job last night on Paolo Banchero. So to me, he's right. You gotta have production, because with no Tatum, teams are going to focus on Brown, and Brown is stepping up and getting the job done. But he's going to need help, right? He's going to need. And I look at Banchero. He had 6 turnovers last night, 0 for 5 from 3. He had 28 points, but he also got to the free throw line 10 times. The problem with the Celtics, we can discuss this, Sherrod, is they're fouling too damn much.
Mm-hmm.
Orlando to the line 32 times, and they hit 30. The Celtics are 18 for 25. So you won the game by 4 and lost the free throw game by 12. Mm-hmm. That's pretty hard to do. So if you stop fouling and they put Wagner on the line 10 times and Banchero on the line 10 times. And Jalen Suggs, who's not an offensive guy, took 7 free throws. Like, you got to stop fouling. There should be a campaign, some type of public service announcement. Don't foul. Stop fouling. Because Jalen, is talking about the Celtics went to the line 25 times, which is not bad. It's a pretty good number. But they sent the free throw line, Orlando's free line 32 times, right? And so to me, they're going to need consistency offensively and defensively. The rebounding, I think, has gotten better, right? They're not getting completely pounded on the boards. Like they had 13 offensive rebounds last night. The Magic had 12. They only lost the rebounding battle by 1. The 3-point line, let me see here, 7 for 30. So Orlando struggled from the 3. The Celtics were 13 for 33. That's a solid number, right? They're winning some of the other margins, as Joe likes to say. He likes to focus on those margins, but you got to stop fouling. And you got to play better defense without fouling. But if you can make it respectable on the boards, play solid defense without fouling, this team will win its share of games. That's the thing. You can see it. But you can't send Banchero and Wagner to the free throw line and combine 20 times. Way too much.
Yeah. And certainly, you those areas that you pointed out were all areas that they did a really good job in their win over Orlando, 111 and 107. Jalen had 27 and 5 in that game. Derek White had 21, 4 assists, 3 steals, and 3 rebounds. Simons, as Gary mentioned earlier, had 25 points off the bench. Luka Garza had a big game, 16 and 8, and I think like 16, 17 minutes. But the story of the game, and really maybe it was certainly for him, the biggest game he's had this season is our good friend Jordan Walsh. And we're going to talk about that bench as a group and break it down individually as far as the key guys. But before we do that, just a reminder, this is the Big 3 NBA podcast, which is part of the CLNS Media Network, which is where you will find the Big 3 NBA podcast, past and present episodes, as well as other great Celtics content. Gary, let's jump right into talking about Jordan Walsh. The numbers don't even begin to tell his impact. 6 points, 4 assists, he had 6 rebounds, couple steals, but obviously that big corner 3 that he hit late in the game, that was huge. What does a game like that mean for Jordan Walsh, both in the short and long term, when you think about it?
Well, sure. I think you hope this does wonders for his confidence that he can play at this level, because I think that he has not had, the type of start and the type of year that we all expected. Right now, he's in his 3rd year. Let's be honest, like, he probably shouldn't come out of Arkansas. He was coming off the bench at Arkansas. He was a one and done. He wasn't ready for the league, right? You're not saying he was an immature kid or anything like that, but he was, physically and with the league he wasn't ready. And so he kind of hung around last year, the rookie year. He won a championship. He got a ring. Last year, I would take he took a mini step forward. He had his moments, but this was supposed to be the year, playing in his 3rd summer league, to say, okay, I'm the best dude on the floor amongst these summer leaguers. He had moments, but had made progress. But then here comes Josh Minot and then Hugo, and Jordan has kind of lost his role as that 3-and-D guy to those guys. So when he gets a chance to play, he's got to take advantage of it because you don't know when his next chance is going to come. So I think him been hitting that big corner three, and he's played considerable minutes, not, considering his previous time, the last couple of games. Joe is saying, okay, here's your chance. And so for him to knock down a big three, that just has to do wonders for his confidence. But he's got to just keep striving to get better, keep striving to make an impact. You can see that he can do things. Is it going to take another full year? Is it going to take, because remember, the kid is only 21 years old. He's a baby. But, the league don't have patience for kids. There's too many young dudes out here after his minutes. We just saw today Wendell Moore, the kid from Duke, who had a good, I thought, impressive summer training camp for the Celtics, and he goes to Maine. After 2 games, the Pistons see him and bring him in on a 2-way.
Yep.
I think that's a loss for the Celtics. I would have signed Wendell Moore to a 2-way contract. Remember that dunk he had on in preseason?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that dude can play, right? He played 2 games. Maine has played 2 games. The Pistons saw enough to go, come on here, young man. You coming on our side.
Come with us. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So there's too many guys like Wendell Moore and guys who are after Walsh's spot, after his minutes, after his role. And so when Jordan gets out there, he's got to take advantage of his opportunity. I think last night was an example. Hey, I can play with these guys. But he's got to get rid of that, can I play with these guys mentality? And he's got to get out there and show it. And he's got to be productive. And he can't make mistakes. Joe's, I remember the first game against the Knicks, he came in and he got beat. Comes in, Joe gives him some minutes, and he immediately gets beat on the back door by OG Anunoby. And it's like, oh, Jordan, like things like that. He's got to be more consistent. You can see the talent. You can see the improvement. I think we both agree. He is improved.
Yeah.
But has he improved enough?
Right.
Where the Celtics are going to – yeah.
Yeah. No, the thing that you touched on earlier, Gary, which I'm curious to get your thoughts on how big a factor you think it is. But when you look at Josh Minot, who went from being a guy that, is on a, low salary contract, who now is a starter, you got the 19-year-old kid, international late first round pick. And those guys, you don't expect much from them. And yet here he is, Hugo, playing a pretty prominent role. How much do you think their ability to kind of hit the ground running this year has given Jordan maybe a spark that maybe he didn't have before when he didn't have those 2 guys around?
Well, you'd like to think, Sherrod, that it gave him a wake-up call that I'm not guaranteed to be here. And as much as, I think he's, I think the organization likes him. He's a very good kid. He works hard. I do think that the organization is like, we like you, Jordan, but if we lose you, oh well. I mean, we've seen guys, let's be honest, like Drew Peterson was on a 2-way, he gone. Miles Norris got cut. Remember our friend, we hardly got to know RJ Lewis. And he first he goes on a 2-way, they take him off a 2-way, then he has an injury, they release him, like he gone. He ain't coming back to Boston, right? Like you look at the players who are on these 2-ways, they can get you out of there, right? And those dudes, want his spot too. So if I'm Jordan, I just think consistency is the key. And you just hope that he does the most with his minutes. It's a high pressure situation, right? Yeah. Joe understands, like Joe wants him to succeed. And I think the organization likes him, but Joe's going to say like, hey man, I'm giving you 8 minutes. You better play the best 8 minutes of your life. Or if not, you will not play tomorrow. I got Ugo. I got Mina. I got other guys waiting. I got Baylor Shireman, right? I got other guys who can fill that role, that utility role, that Swiss Army knife role, and do a lot of little things for me. So what you going to do, Jordan? And sometimes your moment of truth in this NBA comes right away. Other times it's your 3rd year. I think he's playing for his doubt. Now, that's not to say if the Celtics released him, he wouldn't get picked up by anybody. He might go to, any team might be interested.
Him in Houston.
Yeah, Houston, New Orleans, like, a team that's struggling who wants prospects could
Right.
definitely look him up and sign him. So I'm not saying his career is going to be over, but you don't want to be that journeyman guy. You don't want to be out there bouncing around. You want to be Killian Hayes. You know what I'm saying? You want to be some of these
Right.
guys who are now bouncing around the league, looking for an opportunity, hoping that the next team is it, or you want to take advantage of the shot you got now. So I think with Jordan, as much as I think the team likes him, he's a great kid. I definitely think it's one of those, well, Jordan, put up or shut up.
Facts. Before we go any further, I want to remind our listeners that this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. It's the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least two players for a shot to win cash. It's the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Josh Allen's passing yards and rushing yards and touchdowns? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. You can also follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, a celebrity, partner, or just someone whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. How do you get in on all this? Is super simple. You just download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. And we are, frankly, the Celtics are feeling they were pretty damn good to be right when they went out and got Josh Minot and Hugo Gonzalez and Luka Garza. All three of those guys, I thought, did some pretty positive things in the Orlando win. And Gary, I'm just curious, from your perspective, when you look at Hugo, you look at Josh, you look at Garza and those guys, who do you think has made the biggest impact among those three guys coming off the bench? Because all three have shown signs of helping the Celtics. But who's been the guy that's kind of really jumped out at you among those three?
The guy, Josh Minot, he has been, I think, the most pleasant surprise on this roster in terms of his impact. I don't think anybody envisioned, first of all, if you're watching this on YouTube, listening, send in and be honest with us. Had you heard of this guy when the Celtics signed him? Just let us know. Don't tell us, oh, I followed him since he was in Memphis. Oh, I knew him when he was a kid because he's from Florida. Don't do that when you know you ain't heard this man.
That's my dude. That's my dude that go way back.
Yeah, I seen him in AAU. I saw him, he was.
I know his auntie. I know his team.
Yeah, he was number 75 on the ESPN 100. Like, don't do that. Like, let's be honest. Not a lot of us had heard of him. I had heard of him, not seen him play much because he didn't play much. So we had no idea who this kid was. We all knew Luka Garza, a lot of us, because of his college career, great career at the University of Iowa. Mm-hmm. We knew Chris Boucher from his years in Toronto. So all the guys they brought in, we pretty much knew who they were. Anfernee Simons, if you're an NBA fan, you know who he is. So for me, I think Minot's got to be because he's just come out of nowhere and he's become a starter and he's fearless. Now he makes his mistakes. He threw that bad pass to Jalen that kind of turned the tide on Friday. He's still only 22 years old. He's going to make mistakes, but I think for the bang for the buck, from what they're getting from him, a league minimum, and that dude is just running through brick walls for Joe Mazzulla, running for brick walls to the Celtics. Like, I think he's been the most pleasant surprise. Hugo, remember, I think people were talking about, well, he's going to probably spend most of his time in Maine. It looked like it because he's only 19. Now, he's got to get his offense together, but that dude plays hard. He's a very smart defender, and I think people are noticing that too. But I got to give it to our friend Josh Minot. Like, this is a guy who is taking his opportunity like Jordan needs to and grabbed it because, he didn't want to be a journeyman bouncing around the league looking for a spot. We all know dudes that had all the talent in practice, or man, that dude was a beast in college, and then they just never get a shot or they don't take advantage of their shot. Minot's taking advantage of his shot, so I'm gonna say he's the biggest surprise. What about you?
Well, I would have to agree with you on this one. I wanted to go with Luka Garza, but it's hard to go with a guy who's National Player of the Year. I mean, he should be balling out, really. But the thing about Minot that I'm noticing is that not only has he obviously entrenched himself in that starting lineup, but he's getting real comfortable without stepping on toes in the process. Like, he's raising up for shots, and no one is raising an eyebrow, even though this is a guy who's not known for shooting. He's making hustle plays defensively that are, I think, putting him in the good graces of not just Joe Mazzulla, but also his teammates. When you got a guy who's going all out the way he has, who is on a minimum contract, to me, right now, and I said this at the very beginning of the season, going back to training camp, this season for the new guys is going to be like Hunger Games, basketball version. Somebody is not going to make it to the end, and somebody is going to come out a major winner when all's said and done, because it's going to be a war of attrition from the beginning of the season until the very end, and someone is going to survive that. And right now, Minot is running away with being the one guy that when Jason Tatum comes back and Joe Mazzulla and Brad Stevens are looking at how are we going to construct this team? Who's going to be our top 8, top 9 guys? Minot is he's pretty damn close to cinching him up a spot in that regular rotation once they start looking at this roster as one that they're building to win a championship or to compete for a championship. And I'm glad that Jordan Walsh had the kind of game that he did and has really, I think, strung together maybe 2 or 3, maybe even 4 pretty good games of late. Because to me, he was right. I mean, he was looking very much like he was going to be the leader of the Passport Ready crew. Guys that are going to be playing in France or some, third league in Italy or something, teaming up with my boy Romeo Langford or something like that very soon. So Jordan has kept himself in the game, and I much respect for him. And to the point that you made, Gary, and I think sometimes we as basketball fans, as people who cover the team, don't really put enough stock in the fact that these are some young ass kids. I mean, Jordan. Think about it. This dude is not that far removed from high school.
I mean, let's be honest, Sherrod. If your son was a one and done, that dude would be in his 7th year or something. Like, I'm not trying to be funny, but you're right. We know your son. We didn't see him since he was a kid. You've known your son a lot longer than I have. But you met him. You met him back in the day when he was a youngster. And I mean, he'd be in his 7th year and be like, damn, dog, really? Like, you know what I'm saying? Or 5th, 6th year. Like Jalen, I'm in my 10th year. Like, what? Like,
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Like Jalen's like OG now. Like, you get double digits in years, bro. You OG status. You the old head. Yeah. Like, you can think you young and you look young and all that. Nope. You in your year 10.
Yeah, so that hairline is telling me something, but that's another conversation.
Oh, yeah. Let's don't talk about that. We'll table that we'll talk about that some other time. Anyway, but you're right, Sherrod. These dudes is young. These dudes is born in 2003. They don't remember a lot of things. They weren't around for a lot of things. Their time, they should be in college, right? They should be still in college, damn near. I think Jordan would be a senior at Arkansas. Probably, maybe a lottery pick coming out. Who knows? But these kids made the decision to come out. They're coming out now. With the NIL, some of these kids are staying in school. They like my man Rerun. They ain't never leaving Jefferson. They never leaving Jefferson High School. Kids look that up. Look Rerun up if you don't know. They ain't never Rerun don't want to leave Jefferson High. So they don't want to leave college because the money's too good. Like, why am I gonna make 2nd round pick money? I'm making $3 million here. And dude, what you talk?
Right.
Do the math. So
exactly.
If I'm Jordan, I mean, you have to give these kids an opportunity. But there's just so many of them, Sherrod. There's the kids from overseas. There's the kids toiling in the G League. There's just too many dudes hooping right now to turn around and give a guy 3 to 4 years to figure it out. Like, it's just not happening. Even though these kids are young and it might click in. That's why we're seeing so many players like Josh Minot, AJ Mitchell, Ryan Rollins from Milwaukee, these standout guys who are like suddenly come up because it finally clicked in, and they've been bouncing around the league or signing two ways and all that. And for whatever reason, year 4, year 5, it clicked in. Well, why wasn't why did Minnesota hang on to Josh? Because he wasn't probably performing like this. Or why didn't Golden State hang on to Ryan Rollins? He was in their system because he wasn't no good. He wasn't playing like this, but it clicked. Right. And the hope is it clicks with the team that drafted him, right? The Celtics hope that it clicks with Jordan Walsh. They don't want to see Jordan go to Philadelphia or a rival, or the Lakers or something like that, then hoop it up.
Right.
And then it finally works. And all of a sudden, but as you mentioned, your friend, Romeo Langford, sometimes it never happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're in the streets, or you're in overseas, or you're in the G League or whatever. And sometimes it doesn't happen. Remember, Romeo was a one and done. Romeo was supposed to be really, really good.
He was coming out of high school, he was like one of the top, if not the top player at his position in the country. He was a big deal.
People were, saying like, damn, this dude's, what happened? It never clicked.
Yeah.
Or another friend of ours, Aaron Neesmith, clicked in his 3rd or 4th year. Now he's a grown-ass man. Remember when Aaron was just playing with, now you look at Aaron, it's like he's an established NBA player, right? Yeah. He is a dude who's like might have come in a year too early. Maybe he could have went back to Jerry and played another year at Vanderbilt, but he is like, no, I'm real. I'm legit now. He done grown up. And the tough part about growing up in the NBA is some organizations give you a shot, others don't. And if you don't get that shot, you get on that journeyman role where you're in the G League or two-way. That's tough.
Yeah, it is. And players, I think they're starting to understand the importance. You can't just be a talented player. You got to be in the right situation at the right time with the right coaching staff and the right support around you. Because we're seeing over and over again, guys are going to different teams where the only real change is just opportunity. And they're making the most of it. And so you do wonder, like, man, if they would have had an opportunity elsewhere, maybe things would turn out different. But let's be honest. If you're in Minnesota, are you really going to play over Anthony Edwards? Are you really going to play over, my man, 6th man of the year?
Nas Reed.
Yeah.
Jay McDaniels. No, you're not.
Right.
That's
not.
why he didn't play.
Right. And so you can understand why he didn't play. But see, the mistake I think sometimes happens is that people think guys don't play because they're not good. And they don't recognize that more times than not, particularly in the NBA, guys don't play because the opportunity to play isn't there. And the opportunity to play isn't there because the guys ahead of them are better. And last I checked, that's the goal, to put the best players on the floor that can help you win games. That's why Josh Minot is playing starter minutes with the Celtics, and guys like Jordan Walsh, guys like Ugo, they're playing, but they're not playing as much as Josh is because he's giving them that lift that they need. Sam Hauser, a guy that is versed on the system, he's still coming off the bench because they looked at him as a starter and they looked at Josh as a starter. They clearly felt Josh was a better fit for what they're trying to do. So the idea that young players aren't any good is just wrong. They're just not ready, and I think that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part for them to figure out. Well, what do you do with a young guy who you think has potential, but he ain't ready to play? But you're charged with trying to win right now. What are you gonna do?
It's just impossible, man. Like it's really impossible because you look at I'm looking at here, Sherrod, like the 24 draft, and guys are getting their opportunities, but there's a guy like Deron Holmes. He's played 2 NBA games so far. He's a 22nd overall pick. AJ Johnson, 36 games. Like some of these guys are barely getting on the floor. Then you got guys like the Stephon Castles, the Sardone. No, those are top 5 picks.
Right.
But Jared McCain, now he's been hurt, but Jared McCain is a guy, 16th overall pick. Like sometimes, or let's look, Jalen Wells, 39th overall pick. starting in Memphis.
Right.
Who would have thunk, right? The 39th overall pick. Adam Bona, 41st overall pick. The backup in Philadelphia to Embiid coming
He's a
off
good
the
player.
bench.
Yeah.
Like you just don't know. Quentin Post, our friend from Boston College, is playing, 52nd overall pick. Playing, getting some burns, 7 points a game in his career so far. Like you look at like these guys, it's a crapshoot. And then you look at, Pacone Daddier with the Knicks, 22 total games, 1.5. Like he's a first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you just don't know. Like with the one and done, these kids, it's a crapshoot, right?
Yeah.
It just, you really don't know. Devin Carter, the kid from Providence, everybody was like, what a great pick Sacramento made. He can't get on the floor, 3.3 points a game. Like if you look at the drafts, some of these guys, and they're still with their original teams, but some of these guys are going to be out the league. Some of these guys are going to be traded. You look at it, man. You look at it's just I look at a guy, 15th overall pick a few years ago, Kobe Buffkin has been like with 3 teams now, 27. Right. Like that's a lottery pick.
Forgot he was still in the league.
Yeah, you wasting like basically. Jalen Hood-Schifino. I don't even know if he's in the league. 17th overall pick 2 years ago. Like, some of these guys are out the league. The league does Derek Whitehead. Like, remember, he's a strong man out of Duke. Released by the Nets. If the Nets release you, a problem, man. The Nets got rid of him.
And we didn't even talk about the Jason Kidd Nets. We ain't talking about the Buck Richards Nets. We talking about damn.
No. But who was a second-round pick in that draft? G.G. Jackson, 45th overall. He's averaged 11 points a game so far in his career. 45th, right? Yeah. I mean, you look at some of these guys in the second round, Trace Jackson Davis, second to last pick in that draft. Like, you just have no freaking idea. Sherrod, that's the thing. It's such an inexact science. And now with the NIL, some of these kids staying in school, some of these kids, like, we just don't know who's going to play well. We don't know who's going to play well in this draft. So it's a total crapshoot.
Right. The one thing I do like about NIL is that it is having a lot of more players stay longer, which to me means that once they do get to the league, they're probably going to have a little bit more success. And they may not be drafted as high, but I think that the longevity of their career, I think, has greater promise because they'll just be better prepared for what they're getting into and be able to compete sooner rather than later. And that's the one thing that we often don't pay enough attention to is not so much who can come in and be a star, but who can come in and compete. Because this isn't, just because you're a McDonald's All-American, you pretty much guaranteed you're going to see some burn in college. That don't mean a damn thing when you get to the NBA. Because just because you were McDonald's All-America 3-4 years ago, this kid from middle of nowhere, Nebraska, who's an undrafted free agent who is thirsty to get on the floor, is busting you. And if he's busting you in practice, guess what? You ain't gonna play, and he will. So it's a much different game now than it's certainly been in past years. Before we get out of here, I want to talk to you about just coming up next for the Celtics. They got the Sixers, as you mentioned earlier. That's on Tuesday. They got the Grizzlies. My goodness. You talk about dumpster fires? My goodness.
Yeah, they're a mess.
They're a hot mess. They're coming to the TD Garden on the 12th. And then Celtics get a few days off before they get Ty Lue and his crew from the Clippers.
Another mess.
Another mess, exactly. They come to town on Sunday. For the Celtics, obviously, they don't have the level of drama that some of these other teams have. But the thing that they're trying to do is just build off of what we saw in Orlando. What do you think are some of the keys for the Celtics to be able to kind of take some of that success that we saw in their last game out and just build on that going forward?
Yeah, it's just consistency, Sherrod. Like they got a tough one in Philadelphia on Tuesday, and then Memphis at a back-to-back. Back-to-backs are tough. The Grizzlies are talented. Now they're chaotic and dramatic, but they are talented. So they're capable of a good game, and then you get 3 days off before you get the Clippers. It's just defending home court at this point. The Celtics are 2-3 at home. That's unacceptable. They lost to Utah at home. They lost to Philly at home. Two of their probably more difficult losses of the season. Than that Houston game, they just got housed.
Right.
They got blown out. Houston is probably one of the a team that can compete for a championship at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you got to defend home court. You got to start stacking some wins together. You have to start getting above 500. You don't want to be hovering at 500. 5 and 6, it's okay now, right? You're doing okay. Like, they're the 10th seed, but they're also only 3.5 out of the top seed. So, they're 2 games from the 3rd seed. So there's no panic in Boston yet. But you don't want to be hovering around 500. Then you lose 3 or 4 in a row, then you're below 500, and you don't want to be chasing 41 wins. You want to get to that 45, 46 win plateau, and the schedule will get easier. I mean, this is to be a 3rd meeting against the 76ers. They've already played the Pistons. They've already played the Cavs. They already played the Knicks. They've already played the Rockets. So they played some tough teams. And they played Orlando twice. So they played the tough teams on their schedule. They've had a more difficult schedule, I think, than people kind of maybe expected. And so that Utah loss, if they win that, they're 6-5. They're feeling pretty good about them. That Utah loss is going to sting for a while because that's a game you got to get, right? And the Jazz haven't won since. They've lost 2 in a row since that win. And they're 1-5 on the road. And guess where that one comes from? Winning at Boston. So if you're the Celtics, defend home court, fight like hell to get that Philly win and get that second win over Philly. I think they don't play them for several months after this, but just try to fight and be more consistent. I think they're seeking that consistency. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to avoid those big quarters, right? Like the 4th quarter against Orlando on Friday, they tie the game and then they turn around and allow I think a 17-4 run and lose the game. Like, that's the thing. They play good games even in their losses. It's just big quarters that they're just giving up. And so they got to be better and they got to be more consistent. So I think seeking consistency, whoever that comes from, and Joe is definitely going to he is definitely going to put whatever lineup he can out there to find that consistency.
Absolutely, and he should. That's what he should be doing. Before we get out of here, I just want to get a quick game of fill the lane. Now we've been talking a lot about the backups and the guys coming off the bench, and as we mentioned earlier, this week they're playing Philly, they're playing Memphis, and they're also playing the Clippers. And so here's what I got for you, Gary. Blank will be the best player off the Celtics bench this week. Who do you think that's going to be? They're playing Philly, Memphis.
Anfernee Simons.
Damn it, Gary.
Anfernee Simons.
You took my pick. Damn it.
What? He scored 25 and 23, man. Ain't no damn hard question. Come on, Sherrod.
Explain yourself to see if we have the same explanation. I don't think we do.
I just think he's a dude who can score. I think he's starting to find his rhythm. He's shooting 41% from 3. And so he should play more. And I think Joe's got to look and go, okay, I got to play this dude more. We're a 3-point shooting team. We love to shoot the 3, and we have a dude shooting 41%, and he's only playing 22 minutes a game. Where the hell is that? So he's got to get Simons on the floor more. And I think more minutes, more points, more production. And you're not playing great defensive teams. The Sixers are okay. The Grizzlies can be when they actually focus. And then the Clippers are all over the place. And they lost twice to Phoenix. They're 3-6. Like, the Clippers are a mess. We don't know if I think Kawhi might or might not play. So Kawhi might have some, Kawhi might have somebody to hang out with this weekend. Kawhi and Kawhi, the load management team tandem. But to me, it is like Simons has got to be that guy. He should be the best player of any second unit because he's I think scoring wise, he's that good and he's trying on defense.
Yeah. Well, the reason why he was going to be my guy was because, 2 reasons. One, as you alluded to, you're playing three teams that are in absolute dumpster fires for the most. Philly, not so much, but certainly Memphis and the Clippers are just, you just don't know what the heck you're dealing with them, other than the fact that neither one of them is playing very good basketball. Simons, I think, can definitely take advantage of that. The other reason why he was my guy for this week is because he's coming from the Western Conference, and two of those three teams you're playing are Western Conference teams. So there's a personnel familiarity that he's used to. And remember, this is a guy that dropped 20 a night out West. So for me, the fact that you've got teams that are exactly playing good basketball, you've got a level of familiarity that he has that goes a little bit more for his favor than it does for some of his teammates, where they'd see these teams twice a year. He's used to seeing them 4 times a year. Those are the two big factors. And obviously, he's balling out. I mean, let's just keep it real. He's absolutely a just walking bucket. And you can't say that about too many Celtics, certainly not this year. So that being said, before we get out of here, for those of you listening to this show, we ask that you subscribe to the podcast, like and leave a review. And for those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the CLNS Media and Celtics All Access YouTube channel, where you can find our show and a lot of other great Celtics content, as well as a chance to leave a comment that we may be talking about on the next episode, just like we did this one. And one more thing, please make sure to turn on your notifications so you know the instant a new video drops. For Gary Washburn,
yeah.
For Gary Washburn, I was trying to think of something clever to say about Kwani, but I'm just going to leave it. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
For Gary Washburn and our partner, who is sort of, kind of, but not really in the building, Kwani Load Management Lunas. I'm Sherrod Blakely, and we out of here. Just like Kwani, we out of here.